What is your perspective on what was clearly throughout baseball the most stunning about face in terms of the plan?
I think it was smart. I hate to say this, but even when the Giants were off to that great start through the first 6 weeks or whatever it was, I was skeptical at best because I did not love their lineup. And then they made the trade for Devers, which although I don't think that Rafael Devers is a $300 million ball player because he's a great hitter. He really is. But I don't think he adds much else. And so I personally would say if I'm going to pay $300 million to a guy, I'd want a little bit more elsewhere. But I understand why Buster Posey did that, right? They've had such a tough time getting elite hitters out to that ballpark for whatever reason over the last decade plus. So I understood that. But even with Devers in the middle of that lineup, it just didn't feel complete enough. And this team, I hate to say this to Giants fans because I like watching them. I know some of the guys on that team. I like Buster. This is not a good enough team to make the playoffs. And they're going to have to do a long, thorough search in the offseason to see how they can supplement this lineup yet again. I know Giants fans are sick of hearing this because it feels like we talk about this every offseason, but they have to do it. They're going to have to figure it out. You've got kind of your cornerstone with Devers, who when he is right and when he's mentally good to go, he is an elite hitter. So you've got that. Now it's how do we figure out the rest of the lineup because it's just not good enough.
Do you think it's fair to look at Devers after almost 8 weeks and say, well, it takes time for a player to adjust to a new league, a new city, a new ballpark, and all the rest of it? Is that a fair grace period to give to a guy?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's hard. Let's put ourselves in a guy's shoes, and people will say this. Well, you could pay me $300 million and I'll move anywhere in the country for it. It won't bother me. Well, we're not paying you $300 million because you can't freaking hit the ball out of the infield. And same thing for me. So they're not asking us to do it. So let's take that off the table. He's not like us. He is superhuman when it comes to this ability. He knew one organization. And I think that the way that things went down in Boston, and he shouldn't be absolved from the situation. He created part of this. That my guess is that it bothered him. And I think if you were to sit down with him at some point, it could be a year from now or whatever, and say, do you regret how things went down in Boston? He probably would say yes. And so my guess is that not only are you moving, and you're moving your family across country to a new organization and everything else, and they might be excited to see you, and they might have a press conference like instead of a trade, they signed you to a free agent deal. That was bizarre. But I think that this whole thing is screwed with him a little bit mentally. I really do. And I don't think you'll start seeing the best of Rafael Devers till 2026.
Chris, when you look at this situation, when you make a statement like that, like I just don't think the lineup's good enough, does that kind of absolve Bob Melvin from any of what has taken place? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I do think that there's limitations in this lineup. I just do. But the things that he can control and has to be on top of have been sloppy. The last 7 to 10 days have been horrible to watch. And it's not just Elliot Ramos. I mean, there's been some other things. Heck, even the play the other day, was it Rodgers that I saw that was covering first?
Yes.
And didn't know where the ball was? Like,
correct.
That was bizarre. And we've seen some stuff, right? Ronald Acuna scored from first base on a ball that was hit like 60 feet past the infield. That stuff was weird. Those are the areas where I don't care what your lineup looks like. And I don't care who's learning new positions and maybe is playing a little bit out of that stuff. Shouldn't happen consistently. It can happen here and there. I mean, Austin Wells for the Yankees forgot how many outs there were. And he said, yeah, I was just being a dummy, and that happens to every good baseball player, good team. But when you're fighting for the ability to maybe add players and you're getting swept at home by the Pirates, like that sort of stuff is inexcusable. And to me, that does fall on leadership a little bit.
And at what point then do you start to hold leadership accountable in the ultimate way?
Well, let's put it this way. If you fired Bob Melvin does this team become a playoff team?
Not just because of that, no.
No, I don't think so. I mean, okay, Gabe Kapler got them to 107 wins a few years ago, and then a couple of years later, he's out. Like, the manager situation is tricky these days, particularly because nobody is honest with the public in terms of what is decided before a game, how much does the manager actually do during games. You'll never hear it out of a manager's mouth because they want to make it feel like they do kind of rule the roost, right? Just like in the old days, in the 80s and 90s, before front offices really took on a new role in the game. And you won't hear it out of the front office because they want to run and hide if they don't want to be held responsible for what happens on the field. They only want to be held responsible for who's in the dugout. So nobody will ever tell you the truth on that sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, you just kind of, it's interesting because I'm obviously a big Terry Francona fan. I've known Terry a long time, but based on what he did in Cleveland, well, he gets down to Cincinnati, and they're like, God, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. I feel like I'm watching David Bell teams all over again, and I just sit there and I laugh because I'm like, really, guys? This is what we're doing now? Like, nobody likes either your manager because of his bullpen decisions or your offensive coordinator because the guy sucks and can't call plays. Like, just stop with that stuff. Stop complaining.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right, but it goes even further than that. Like, this won't surprise you because the Giants have had such a hard time hitting the ball, but we get calls on the daily of, like, fire Pat Burrell, the hitting coach of the Giants. And I think a lot of us are like, what the hell does that do? Like, what? I mean, have we reached a spot, Chris, where these managers and coaches that we talk about, is it almost nameless, faceless, doesn't even matter?
I'm not going to go as far as saying it doesn't matter because I really do believe that the term manager is most applicable. Like the leader in the dugout's not called coach; he's called a manager because he really has to manage people, and that is the number one thing. And he has to kind of smooth over all the rough edges as to why somebody is not playing the day after they hit a home run. Well, why the hell aren't I playing? Well, it's because of these numbers that were sent down from the front office. Look at the spin rate that you would have to face, and it doesn't match up with your swing plane. Like, what? Excuse me? I just took somebody into the bay. Doesn't that count for something? Well, it should, but here's why it doesn't. And so the manager has to work, and if they don't have that ability to sit down with their players, then they cannot get the best out of today's players. And so I think you have to have tremendous people skills with the 26 dudes in your clubhouse and with the media with whom you have to meet before and after games. And I know people don't want to hear about that necessarily, but that has become a huge, huge part of what the manager does these days.
And have we gotten too far down that road, Chris, where the spreadsheet and the spin rate and the StatCast, has that become too much of a force in how we go ahead and manage baseball players?
I think so. Because at the end of the day, those sheets, although wonderful, and some players love the information they are getting, love it. At the end of the day, and bullpen arms are literally dragging on the ground as they're walking out to the bullpen to do their work for the day, those sheets don't allow you to look into a player's eyes and see how they're doing. And that's where managers come in handy. They have to be able to say, well, yes, on most days, this sheet, the if-then sheet scenario that I have been given before the game makes a ton of sense, but today it doesn't. And that is why I'm going to go a different direction. And so it is important. All of the information we've received, and I'm not saying that it's ruined the sport, because I'm not one of those guys at all. But I think that to just say, well, a manager is a guy who's out there to answer just the media's questions, that's not good enough. I think there has to be some responsibility to have a human feel during the game, too.